Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret. Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
Idiot.
Man of Steel is a terrible movie. It's one of the weaker DCU films, and to be fair, there's quite a few of those. It's so terrible, I'm debating whether or not it's worse than Justice League.
Hey, yo, what the?
Alright, maybe that's a tad bit harsh.
He said that you were the thirstiest young woman he ever met. Hungriest.
But still, even if I have a lot more respect for it than I do Justice League, it's still just such a terrible dumpster fire of a movie. I'll start explaining why in a minute, but for right now I want to give a few disclaimers. I know trashing a Snyder movie at this time is kind of sensitive because of the Snyder Cut. Let me be clear, I'm not hating Zack Snyder. I don't hate Zack Snyder, I actually like him. He seems genuinely pretty nice, and while I don't like most of his movies, he seems like a nice enough guy. So when watching this video, just remember, all the negative things I'm saying aren't about Zack Snyder, it's just about this movie. I just want everyone to keep that in mind, because I know it's difficult to actually listen to arguments when you're just focusing on the fact that I dare not like a movie made by Zack Snyder. The second disclaimer is, while making this video, I'm going to try to avoid adaptation criticisms. When it comes to adaptation criticisms, I've never been clear what my stance is on it, so I guess I might as well just put it out there now. When it comes to adaptation criticisms, it may seem ironic coming from me, but I don't think they're valid criticisms against the film. Allow me to elaborate. Obviously, when adapting something, I do think you should try to be as faithful as possible. However, if it chooses not to be, I don't think it's a legitimate problem in the movie. You can make an adaptation criticism, and I have made adaptation criticisms, but I don't think that makes a movie bad alone. So when I rant about how MCU Spider-Man's an awful adaptation of Spider-Man, I'm not saying the reason those movies suck is because it's a bad adaptation. Spider-Man Homecoming on its own sucks for numerous reasons. Whether it's the awful fairy scene, or some of the characters not exactly having character, and of course the effects being absolutely atrocious. And to make matters worse, the movie for some reason ignores Peter's spider sense, even though it was established in Civil War that he does in fact have it.
Oh God. Hey buddy, I think you lost this.
Far From Home also sucks for reasons that don't even have anything to do with an adaptation, which is why that movie's terrible. The Edith glasses even existing just contradicts and character assassinates everything that made Tony Stark special. It's basically just a way of saying, yeah, Tony Stark never did learn his lesson, which is pretty insulting if you ask me. And as if one character assassination wasn't enough, they also character assassinate their own version of Peter. For some reason, they decided to have it be where Peter wants his break so badly that he's willing to let the entire world die just to have it, because keep in mind, he was told that Mysterio could not beat this elemental and lost. His entire world was lost to this thing.
I was part of the last battalion left trying to stop them. All we did was delay the inevitable.
The elementals are here now, attacking the same coordinates.
There's only one left. Fight.
The strongest of them all. The one that destroyed my Earth.
This all seems like big time, you know, huge superhero kind of stuff.
You've been to space.
I know, but that was an accident, sir, come on.
Peter was just shown proof that, you know, the Earth might die if he doesn't do anything, and his instant reaction is, I don't really want to. I need my break. Seriously, that is blatant character assassination. I don't care what anyone says. Also, the Edith glasses are very inconsistent, the pacing's terrible, some of the dialogue just is not very good. The opening with I Will Always Love You is the most atrocious opening I've seen to any superhero film. So yeah, the movie sucks and has nothing to do with being a bad adaptation, even though I will complain about that. In this video, while I might reference that it's a terrible adaptation, and I might even make a few suggestions from the comics that would improve it, I'm overall not going to be criticizing it for being a bad adaptation, and I'm strictly going to focus on it being a terrible movie. So without further ado, let's go over why Man of Steel is a garbage film. One last thing, by the way, my style for the video, you'll notice, is probably changing. See, I've done videos for a while, and I decided now is a good time to kind of change the style. For this video, I'll be going over the entire film from beginning to end, and throughout, I'll still have chapters like I usually do. Like, you can still go to the description and find time codes for chapters. However, I'm going to be naming these chapters as I go through the film, scene by scene, or going through the story at least. Just think of this as like kind of an experiment. Alright, now we can talk about why it's a terrible movie. Let's go. The film opens on Krypton. We see Kal-El being born, and we also meet his parents, Jor-El and Lar-El. We then cut to Jor-El talking to the Council of Krypton about how Krypton's going to be destroyed.
Krypton's core is collapsing. We may only have a matter of weeks. Harvesting the core was suicide. It has accelerated the process of implosion.
Everyone here is trying to figure out how to save the planet. Apparently they were harvesting the core, but wait, why would they harvest the core? This is never actually explained, by the way. The Kryptonians are just idiots, I guess. There are technically more issues with this scene and Krypton in general, but there's further explanation to it, so I'll just save my criticisms for later. Jor-El is asking for them to give him control of the Codex. The Codex is basically the key to Krypton's future people. More on this later. Then General Zod breaks in.
This council has been disbanded.
On whose authority?
Mine.
Zod wants to hold the council accountable and execute the bloodlines that led them to this point.
These lawmakers, with their endless debates, have led Krypton to ruin. We'll start anew. We'll sever the degenerative bloodlines that led us to this state.
Jor-El stands against him and is arrested, and for some reason they don't give him any handcuffs or shackles of any kind. Don't get me wrong, I know it's another world, so they wouldn't have the same kind of handcuffs we do, but really? You'd have me believe that Krypton has no shackles of any type? Seriously, how many prisoners break out? Obviously, because they give him no shackles, Jor-El breaks free, like I assume every other prisoner would. So Jor-El goes and he steals the Codex. Zod's forces find him trying to steal it, but they don't get him back, so they have to go hunt him later on. Jor-El escapes and goes straight back to his home, or his hut, whatever they're called, his house. Him and Lara must now send their son away. But first they give some important exposition.
Young star. His cells will drink its radiation. It's a seemingly intelligent population.
He'll be an outcast. A freak.
Man, this line's stupid. Why do you care? Do you want him to be called a freak and live, or do you want him to die? Your choice. I get it, she's sending her son away, but like, is she trying to reconsider by saying this? I really don't get it. Anyways, they're sending their son off now. It's actually a pretty decent moment, so hooray, this film gets a couple points. They then transfer the Codex into Kal-El, and I am gonna have to censor that. So now they have to say their goodbyes.
Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
The pod's getting ready, but it isn't able to launch yet. General Zod arrives and he's ready to arrest Jor-El and take the Codex back. For some reason, he goes in with only 2 men, but whatever. Jor-El is waiting for them and he explains what he's done.
We've had a child, Zod. A boy child. Krypton's first natural birth in centuries. And he will be free. Free to forge his own destiny.
Wow, such brilliant dialogue.
We've had a child, Zod. A boy child.
I really personally love this moment where it feels like he has to clarify it's a boy child, as if he's unsure Zod would understand. I guess that's heresy.
Heresy!
Because I guess people just don't do natural births on Krypton for some reason. So Jor-El and Zod get into what might possibly be the worst fight in the entire movie.
Destroy it!
Ah, some future inspiration for The Mandalorian. You know what I mean, that thing where troopers will just act like idiots and basically give the characters plot armor just so they can live and the plot can keep happening. Wonderful. So Zod grabs the gun. Now, remember earlier he had a gun. So, did he not bring one? Did he leave it? Why would this military general not walk in there with a gun? Wait, something doesn't feel right. I'm sensing a moment of character stupidity. Let's go back and see, shall we? So as we can see here, Jor-El just got the gun back. So shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. Why did you just spend about 5 to 6 seconds fighting with him over a gun? Why did you not shoot him? Why were you hitting him with the gun that's still loaded? So anyways, for the rest of the fight, Jor-El beats the living crap out of Zod. Wait, what? Yeah, Jor-El, who is a scientist, beats the military general. Huh.
See, now that's some bullshit.
You know what? I declare we give Jor-El a new name because a scientist destroying a general this hard deserves something like this. So let's call him Gary Stu-El. So Gary defeats General Zod. Okay, so now you have the gun back. So you know what? Let's play this game again. Shoot him, 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 knock him out, something, just shoot him! Kal-El's pod finally heads to Earth and... Ugh, come on, man. He had this thing the whole time. So while he was getting beaten the whole time by this scientist, while Gary was demolishing him, he had access to this weapon, which could have at least injured him and helped him in the fight significantly. Plus, add that on to his stupidity for not bringing a gun. So you're telling me you weren't defenseless this whole time? What? Why didn't you use it here and end the fight before it even started? This man is a military general. Oh, and I think now's a pretty good time to bring up the filmmaking. Let's just talk about the cinematography and the fight choreography first, I guess. Wait, what was that? Ugh, what is this, Winter Soldier? Okay, what is even happening here? Man, who's controlling this camera? Yes, this is one of the few instances where I actually take issue with the filmmaking in a Zack Snyder movie. This movie does have some really good looking shots, but the way the camera moves with these shots is just not very strong. This fight scene is a perfect example of this. Why is the camera so close to these people? I can barely see anything. Do you see what I mean yet? The fights can also be very choppy. You know what? Let's play another game. Let's count the number of cuts in this sequence. Was that 5-second sequence needing of seven cuts? First of all, give the actor some space. I can barely see anything. Second of all, look at this. These few seconds of Zod pushing Jor-El into a wall has like 4 cuts. Did you really need more than 2 cuts for that? Are you serious? And right here is a perfect example of the cameraman needing to back away from the actors. Zod's face is like not even in the frame right here. Back away from the actors, please. I need to see. Oh, and if you think it was just with the Jor-El sequence, no. It's in the whole movie. Look at this. Who directed this? Michael Bay? I honestly have no words. It's just so ugly. The film in general is lit pretty poorly at times because Zack Snyder has a strange obsession with the desaturation filter. Again, I like Zack Snyder, but I've never understood that. And a lot of times, the desaturation or poor lighting can ruin a shot. Granted, sometimes it makes it look good, but a lot of times it makes it look pretty bad. And the fight scenes in general just aren't very good. Granted, they're all better than the Zod and Jor-El fight, but they're still terrible. Filmmaking-wise and writing-wise. At times, they're kind of choppy, and the cameraman also tends to get really, really close to them unnecessarily. Is it so much to ask for this cameraman to just back up sometimes? This scene has bad lighting, a shaky camera, and a cameraman who gets absurdly close to the actors. Back up! Anyways, moving on with the story, Zod is arrested and sentenced to the Phantom Zone. Now, this is my personal favorite scene of the entire movie because it's the only time Michael Shannon really gets to overact, and I love it.
Jor-El was right. You're a pack of fools. Every last one of you. And you believe your son is safe? I will find him. I will find him. I will find him, Lara. I will find him!
Now, forgive me for even asking this, but this planet is about to die, and their way of dealing with this monster is to send him to a place where he can live for like a long time. I have a hard time believing that would ever happen. Would it not make more sense to force Zod to stay here and die with them, rather than giving him an opportunity to live? Granted, it's in the Phantom Zone, but still, you're letting him live in the Phantom Zone. Like, why would you ever do that? Are you stupid? In Smallville, Zod was sentenced to the Phantom Zone too, but it's a little bit different there. Zod also went to the Phantom Zone, but in that story, it's implied that Zod went there a while before this planet blew up. It's not like he was arrested on the day the planet blew up. It's a little bit different. He was taken and arrested a while before the planet was blowing up. Yes, later on it was discovered that he caused it, but I'm pretty sure they didn't know that, or at least that's how I interpreted it. Along with that, the Kryptonians turned Zod into a wreath thing and stuck him inside the Phantom Zone after incinerating his body. And of course, they never planned on the Phantom Zone being opened. So therefore, they never counted on the wreaths of Zod actually, possessing people. Anyway, Krypton blows up, killing Lara and everyone there, and the only survivor is Kal-El, who ends up on Earth. 33 years later, and we see Kal-El all grown up. What was his Earth name again? I can't remember. You know what? He's so bland and bleak and forgettable, so, well, let's just call him Bleak Kent. Bleak is on a boat, and all of a sudden, he sees a boat on fire, so he goes to help the people. He saves these guys, so good job, Bleak. So now is a perfect time to talk about Bleak Kent's character. Bleak Kent is just terrible. His character is extremely bland. How does Clark feel about his father? His actions tells me he disagrees with his father's ideology of, maybe you should let children die to protect their identity. Don't worry, I'll get to that soon. His father believed that maybe he should have let children die. Now Clark in that scene said, no, I shouldn't. And his actions in this movie, for the most part, tell me that he disagrees. But the lines of dialogue and his attitude towards his father tells me otherwise. So does he still love his father? Has he lost respect for his father? Does he view his father as a mentor? Does he now have a lack of respect for his father? Does he disagree with his father? I don't know. The movie didn't answer this very simple question.
All this time, I've been living my life the way my father saw it.
No you haven't. You've been saving people regularly, exposing your identity, so no.
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
Oh, Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
I just want to do something useful with my life.
So farming, feeding people, that's not useful.
I didn't say that.
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas. My father believed that if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me out of fear.
After this line, you had a perfect opportunity to describe how Clark feels about his father, whether it's good or bad. If you want to tell a story about Jonathan Kent being a bad father, that's fine, but go all the way with it. It's very basic in storytelling to, confront whether or not someone's good or bad or right and wrong. Even films like Last Jedi understand this very basic concept.
Is it true? Did you try to murder him?
Leave this island, now!
You failed him by thinking his choice was made. It wasn't. There's still conflict in him.
In The Last Jedi, the protagonist confronts the mentor figure on how wrong he is to do the thing that he did. That's what this movie needed to do. A film should clarify what the protagonist thinks of controversial things such as that. That's not all the questions I have, though. Is Bleak Kent friends with Pete Ross? I don't know. We get two flashbacks, one where he's mean to him and one where he helps him out, but does that mean they're friends later? Should I assume that because I've read the comics and I've seen the Smallville show and I know that they're friends? Does Bleak have any friends? Is this priest his friend? Why does he even see this priest? Is he friends with them? I don't know. Does Bleak care that Zod is his last tie to his own race? Does he try at all to save him? Will he try to save him? Does he care at all that Zod and the others are like the only Kryptonians left? What does he think about that? I don't know. This movie doesn't care about characters, so why should I know? Bleak Bleak is just very underdeveloped. Why does he even become a superhero? Superheroes always have a reason for being superheroes. With Spider-Man, it's because he made a mistake, and because of that, he thinks that it's his responsibility to save people. It's part of his responsibility now that he has these gifts. The more power you have, the bigger the responsibility. That's his belief. With Batman, he wants to prevent every boy from feeling the pain he felt when his parents were shot in front of him, even though that's an impossible task to complete. What is Bleak's motivation? Does he like humanity a lot? Does he feel tied to humanity? If he feels tied to humanity, why does he feel tied to humanity? Does he have friends here? Is Pete Ross his friend? Is it because of Martha Kent and Lois Lane, his only two connections to Earth that we're aware of? It can't be because Jonathan Kent wanted it, because he didn't.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe. Hell no. To the no, no, no.
What is Bleak's motivation for being a superhero? I don't know, to be honest. He just talks to Jor-El's consciousness, he gives him the suit, then bam bam, he's a superhero. The film never explains or establishes what Bleak is fighting for, or why he's fighting for it. What is this man's motivation? Am I supposed to know because I've seen the other movies and shows and I've read the comics? Come on, man. That's extremely lazy storytelling. Anyway, back to the story. Bleak saves the people on the boat. Then he falls in the water and we get a flashback. This flashback is the first time Bleak ever used his X-ray vision, or at least the first time he discovered it.
Clark, come out of there. Clark, I have called your mother.
Okay, I know what I'm about to say is a huge nitpick and entirely inconsequential, but I really just don't care. Did this teacher really bring her entire class to this child who is obviously in some moment of embarrassment? They have no idea what's going on. For all they know, he could just be sick, and she brought her entire class to watch this child get embarrassed, and for all they know, just get sick. Flashback's over, and Bleak has to steal some clothes. Now, I already talked about how Bleak doesn't have a lot of character in this movie. Now, this isn't really an issue, I just thought I'd point it out, but what if Bleak went up to the door and asked these people to borrow clothes? That would establish a nice character about how he doesn't want to steal, and about how he's very nice. But instead he just steals clothes. And that's not really an issue. It's just a suggestion because he has very little character in this movie. I also suggest it because, honestly, I don't believe that Superman from the comics would ever actually steal someone's clothes. I get it, it's survival, he needs the clothes. It's not a problem that he steals it. I'm just saying, if you were to be more comic book accurate and have him be nicer, it'd be a nice character trait, and it would establish more character, which is something that Bleak Kent definitely needs in this movie. So Bleak wanders with his new clothes and we enter an other flashback? Didn't we just have a flashback like less than 5 minutes ago? Anyway, not important. What is important is that there's an accident and the bus ends up in the river. So Bleak gets up and uses his powers to save the bus. It turns out Pete also fell in the water, to which Bleak saves him, which is important because it establishes that they kind of have a new respect for each other later on. I guess Pete's mother is angry and scared? Yeah, no. You're telling me that this mother found out her child was saved by another child who can do something supernatural and use it to help them, and her instant reaction was to scream about it and whine?
Act of God, Jonathan. This was providence.
Well, I think you're blowing it a little out of proportion.
No, I'm not. And this isn't the first time Clark's done something like this.
Wait, so it isn't the first time he saved these children?
What?
Okay, this is just the worst mother in existence. No wonder she's at Jonathan's house. Speaking of which...
Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Wait, what?
Now, I forgot this character's name, so I'm gonna give him a new name. I think it matches him perfectly. Richard Kent. Richard Kent is so stupid that he actually suggests to his son that he should have maybe let the children die to protect his identity. Let me get this straight. You think that if Bleak was the only survivor, it would be less suspicious and no one would examine him? Really? I'm sorry, Richard Kent is a terrible person. He values his son's secret identity over the lives of the children. If Richard is so worried about his son being discovered to the point where he's willing to let children die, then why doesn't he just give him a mask? It would be one thing if the movie confronted whether or not Richard Kent was correct, but it doesn't. Bleak's actions tells me he disagrees, but as I said earlier, the dialogue is different. The movie doesn't know, so I don't know. Richard Kent is completely wrong here. This is morally incorrect, it's disgusting. His role as a father is to instill good beliefs in his son, and he's failing miserably. No sane person would ever tell a child, hey, maybe you should let children die just to protect your identity. Lionel Luthor on Smallville is a better father figure to Clark than Richard is to Bleak. How is that even possible? Congratulations, Man of Steel, you accomplished that, and it's pretty impressive. Also disappointing. I often hear people defend Richard Kent by saying, well, he just said maybe, and this is a very complicated issue. And then they tend to say, well, maybe doesn't mean yes, let the kids die. It means maybe, as in, I don't know.
He's not telling Clark, yes, you should let all children die just to selfishly protect yourself. He's saying maybe. He recognizes that it's a complicated issue, but ultimately he leaves it up to Clark's future adult self.
Oh, this means Jonathan Kent wanted Clark to let those kids die. And I'm here to say, if you believe that that's what Jonathan Kent was saying, then you don't understand the word maybe in the English language. You just don't. People like to suggest that the word maybe there is some form of certainty, like, yes, you should have let those kids die. But I'm going to read you the definition of the word maybe in the English language. It says, maybe really means there is a possibility of said thing happening. For example, will it rain tomorrow is a question that people ask. You might get the answer, maybe, because despite the best weather reports, no one really knows the answer.
The scene where John Kent says, drown the bastards.
Hey, he doesn't say let them die. He says maybe let them die.
That's much better.
The problem, though, is there should be a sense of certainty. There is never any question. You cannot let children die. It's not that complicated. Yes, being an alien is complicated. I'm not disputing that. However, saving children is not. The fact that the thought of maybe you should let children die entered Richard Kent's head is disgusting. Richard Kent, in this instance, is implying that Bleak's secret is more important than the lives of several children. That's disturbing. I'm sorry. It's also wrong.
Wrong!
Guys, call me crazy for a second, but me personally, I don't think it's ever justified to let children die. I happen to agree with Uncle Ben in this instance.
That if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
When you're in a scenario and you have the chance to save someone, it isn't just your choice, it's your responsibility to save them. That's part of having good morals. But according to this psychopath, no, it's more important to keep yourself a secret. I don't have a problem with Richard wanting to keep Bleak a secret. I have a problem with him wanting to keep it a secret at the cost of children's lives. In Smallville, Jonathan wanted his secret kept too, but he didn't do it at the cost of other people's lives.
Look, Clark, I'm not saying that you should put your secret above Lex's well-being. I just think that you should stay out of this one, that's all.
Maybe I should stop using my gifts. That would solve all our problems.
No, it wouldn't, Clark. Your gifts are who you are. You can't live in fear.
Although a little caution wouldn't hurt.
He saw me stop the bus last night.
Maybe we should call the police.
He is the police. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen.
Clark, you didn't do anything wrong, okay?
But Smallville was written by good writers, and this film was written by David S. Goyer. So really, I shouldn't be surprised this film is as bad as it is.
Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe. There's more at stake here than just our lives, Clark, or the lives of those around us.
Oh yeah, we should probably talk about that too. See, Richard Kent is more than just a garbage character. He's also symbolic for one of the biggest problems with this movie, hypocrisy. This whole movie is constantly hypocritical and contradicts itself, but for now, let's just focus on Richard.
keep this side of yourself a secret.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe. There's more at stake here than just our lives, Clark, or the lives of those around us.
You just said that maybe he should let children die to protect his identity. Now you're worried about the lives around you?
You're the answer, son. You're the answer to are we alone in the universe. And I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. You're gonna have to make a choice. A choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
I just want to do something useful with my life.
So farming, feeding people, that's not useful.
I didn't say that.
Our family's been farming for 5 generations, Clark.
Your family, not mine.
Jeez, can you be consistent for 5 minutes, please? I swear, every time this man's on screen, he's being hypocritical and contradicting himself in some way. First, he says that you should maybe let children die just to protect your identity. Then he says we have to be concerned about the lives of those around us and our own. Then he says that he's the answer to our real alone in the universe, and he owes it to himself to find out why he's here. Then he says, no, you should spend the rest of your life farming like my family. You have no choice. You should not find out who you are. You should not choose to be a hero. You have no free will. You have no choice. You will stay and you will farm because that's what I want you to do. It's too dangerous. I've changed my mind and chosen to be hypocritical once again, Bleak.
You don't have rights.
Remember all this hypocrisy, by the way, because we'll be coming back to it regularly. And now we've arrived to the infamous bar scene. Basically, this guy is harassing a waitress, and Bleak tells him to leave her alone.
Leto, I'm serious.
Oh, come on, Chrissy.
Knock it off.
Sit down. Hey, leave her alone, man.
Or what? Tough guy?
Or gonna have to ask you to leave.
Okay, I know that he doesn't know he's got powers, but like, dude, that's Henry Cavill. What exactly do you think you're gonna do to him? You look fairly weak compared to him. So immediately after having this nice moment of Bleak restraining himself from beating the snot out of this guy, the film decides to once again contradict itself. It hasn't even been a full 5 minutes since the last time the film contradicted itself. See, you thought you saw a nice character moment, but no, that's not what you got at all. Instead, you get this sinister moment of Bleak crucifying this man's truck instead of being the bigger man. Yay! I hear lots of people defend this by saying, well, it's all part of his character development. He's not the character he's supposed to be yet. He's not the hero yet. He has to go through an arc. Now, I'm open to that idea. The problem is, the film isn't aware that this is wrong. The film itself never actually addresses this or looks back on it again, because it's not actually part of his growth. If it was, the film would have addressed it. You can't expect me to accept a scene as character growth if the film itself doesn't address it. In the film, none of the characters confront Bleak on how he's been acting. In The Amazing Spider-Man, we see Uncle Ben confront Peter on how he's been behaving. And we see Peter himself learn a lesson on the bridge, understanding responsibility on that bridge and understanding the fact that his vengeful hunt has not been good and that he's been wrong. That's when he understands it. The film makes this clear because they address it. This film does not do that. So Nick has come to this fortress of solitude to think, wait, how did he get here? The last time we saw him, he was leaving the bar and going somewhere, and I guess that was here, but how did he know about this place? Has he been searching for the alien ship this whole time? Has he been searching and trying to figure out who he is this whole time? Has he just been moving around? What has he been doing this whole time? Has he been searching for this thing? How do you know this thing was here? Did he just coincidentally stumble upon it? I feel like something was cut that shouldn't have been cut. And that was the end of part 1. Alright, so at the beginning of this video, I did not plan for this to be this long. But if you look at the runtime, you'll recognize that we're about 40 minutes into this, and I haven't even scratched the surface of how bad this movie is. So instead of making an extremely long video, I've decided to split this into 3 or 4 parts. I'm hoping 3, but it might have to be 4. So obviously this is part 1. Part 2 will be out in probably like a couple weeks, but I can't make any promises.